is going on, hobby family? It is your boy K-Dub, and this is K-Dub's High Five. 5 rapid fire questions with your favorite hobby faces. And today, it's one of the true hobby favorite faces. He's the co-host of the On the Fly podcast, also a regular on the new hobby YouTube series, Chasing Cardboard. He is baseball collector on YouTube. My good friend, Mike, how are you doing today, dude?
Doing great, man. How are you?
I'm doing awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you so much taking the time to do this. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm going to throw 5 questions at you, all hobby related, one right after another.
Okay.
You ready to take it on?
Yeah, I'll try. I'll do my best here.
Hey, that's all I can ask, man. I'm a 7th grade teacher. All I can ask is for your best. So
that's all I can give you. All I can promise. Okay.
All right. First question, man. We kind of talked at the beginning about your hobby resume, but I'd love for you to kind of share it. Kind of walk me through kind of your hobby, kind of media, kind of moving into kind of the hobby as YouTube and also doing these podcasts. Kind of how did you get to this point?
Okay. How much time? No. The quick and dirty version is started in 1981, collecting cards. Loved baseball, but I mean, I was 7. So how much can you really understand about the game other than I thought it was cool?
Yep.
And I got cards, and that was the first year of Donruss, Fleer, and Topps. So I remember opening mostly Donruss and Fleer and laying them out on my floor in my bedroom that I shared with my twin brother. And we just laid cards out by team, and I'd stack them up and rubber band them and stick them in the shoebox. Like literally all the stuff you hear about. I did all that. That condition was irrelevant. I continued to collect my whole childhood, never really stopped. There were periods of less buying just from a financial aspect. You become a young adult, you're in college, I didn't have the same amount of money or my parents' money or whatever. And so it just kind of stalls, maybe the wrong word, but just, I always loved my cards and looked at them. Yeah. I don't think collecting has to be acquiring cards. You can be a collector and just have cards, like just enjoy cards.
Yeah.
That makes you a part of the hobby. It's not like, well, if I'm not actively buying stuff, am I still in the hobby? Of course you are. Like, yeah. And so I think that's a misnomer or misconception that people have about, well, if you're not buying anything, you're lame or whatever. And that's just, I think, not true.
For sure.
And so I would just keep buying stuff. I became in my teenage years and young adult life, a player collector. I'm now a recovering player collector. I learned my lesson from that. And not that player collecting is bad. I started with Darryl Strawberry.
Okay.
And like when I was a real young kid, it was Buddy Bell and Jim Sundberg. These are old Ranger greats,
Okay.
Rangers guy, being from Texas. And so, I just collected my favorite players, and Darryl Strawberry. And this was pre-eBay and all that. So you would go to a show or a shop and, hey, do you have any Darryl Strawberry cards? And back then it was, I'll buy them all. Like I have 1,090 Upper Deck Darryl Strawberry cards for no reason other than I just wanted them, and a nickel a piece or whatever they were, it was not super expensive. And then I moved on to Juan Gonzalez. Then I moved on to Ivan Rodriguez, Michael Young, mostly Rangers, then Josh Hamilton. And that was the straw that kind of broke my back on player collecting, because I invested a lot of money into Josh Hamilton stuff.
Yeah.
And he had a great run for 4 or 5 years. And then it's like he just fell off the planet.
We're just talking about him the other day.
Yeah. And so I was like, God, his cards are not going to be worth anything. And I never did it for the value, but I didn't want them to be worthless, if that makes sense. Like I wanted there to be some terminal value at the end of the story for whoever.
For sure.
And so that made me go, I've always loved Hall of Famers. I always had this kind of love of the history of the game, reading books all the time. Believe it or not, they used to have books that you could actually read, kids. And reading books about stories of players that I never saw play, Lou Gehrig, Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Mickey Mantle, Hank Aaron, all these guys, and loved the stories and always appreciated that. It was more of I'd go to a card shop and it wasn't that I didn't love all the vintage stuff. I just couldn't afford any of the vintage stuff. And so I stuck with modern players. And I think collectors go through evolutions where you start as a everybody starts as a modern collector because that's who you can watch on TV or listen to on the radio or whatever. and then you go, oh man, I want to learn more, and you get deeper into it, and you kind of start going backwards,
Yeah.
and you mature in your collecting. I think, not that you can't be sounds so bad, but there's just a life cycle of a collector. You start appreciating vintage more. You start maybe adding some more vintage.
Yeah.
Maybe not that you give up what you loved at the beginning, the modern players or whatever, but you kind of graduate levels. You get
True.
further along in your hobby life cycle, and you're like, yeah, I kind of dig this old stuff.
Yeah,
And not everybody follows that life cycle, but I've seen that pattern a lot
for sure.
in different collectors, and it's not exclusive for sure. And so now I'm just a Hall of Fame guy. I love old stuff, and I'm trying to get every card picturing a Hall of Famer from 1950 to 1989.
Okay.
So it's a huge 5,000 count or 5,000 card project. So every Topps and Bowman card from the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I get them all slabbed too. So that's another level of crazy.
Wow. Okay.
So 40 plus years, never took a break, like consciously going, I'm out of the hobby, and that's kind of my story. And YouTube was just a thing that I watched a lot of content in the, early 2010s.
Yeah.
And said, I have some cool stuff. I think I'd like to show it and maybe tell some stories. And that's the videos that I love, the stories behind it. I love people telling why a certain card connects with them, because to me, that's what sports cards is. It's a connection of some kind to either a memory, a player, an event, or whatever.
Yeah.
And a time in your life, whatever. So I love hearing how those dots get connected for different people for different reasons. Oh, I remember this with my dad. I watched this guy hit a home run, or name it, right? All these different things.
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell those stories because I had a lot of them and I was wanting to share them. And so in 2013, I started my own videos. They were terrible, very sporadic. And then around 2017, 2018, something like that, I really just started going. I had enough savvy, I guess, technically speaking, to be able to pull it off and kind of, and my channel name is Baseball Collector, which seems very mundane and like, duh, I collect baseball stuff, because everybody thinks I'm just cards, and I'm not. I got memorabilia and autographs galore and all kinds of stuff so I'm just a baseball collector. I like baseball stuff. Love and it. It was so early in YouTube that I could get that name and nobody else had it. It just seems, now you have to come, if you started a channel today, you'd have to come up with something catchy and unique.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of that story.
I love it. I love it, man. I love how the cards with a story. That's my favorite thing. I mean, every card we get kind of can connect you to the player or to the event or to the time. So it's really, really neat. So let's talk about kind of your influence then. You kind of mentioned you and your brother collecting a little bit, but who would you say have been some of your kind of biggest influences, whether that be kind of the hobby media stuff or for your own personally collecting?
So without a doubt, I'd have to say my dad, and this is probably very common for a lot of guys.
Likewise.
And it wasn't that my dad was a collector he didn't like cards, but he worked in the sports industry, sports television, and he worked Rangers games, and I would go with him to games, and it just enhanced my love of the sport, which it's like, do you love the sport or do you love the cards? Which the chicken or the egg, right? Which came first? And I think they have to be mutual, you grow together, right? I think if it's hard to love the hobby the way I think someone should love the hobby if you don't love the sport behind it. I love football, but I don't collect football cards. I love basketball. I don't collect NBA stuff. I have a few things, but baseball is my true passion. And so loving the game. And my dad is a collector. He collects tools and he does woodworking and a huge shop with all, every tool you can possibly imagine. I'm like, why do you need 4 of those? He goes, I'm just a collector, and so I remember going with him as a kid around to flea markets and, estate sales and garage sales and anything we could, looking for old tools. And I was his Sherpa, I'd walk around, me and my brother, and carrying everything that my dad would buy. And occasionally we'd see boxes of cards and, hey, Dad, can I get a pack or whatever? And this is in the early 80s, 83, 84, 85. And so that was, I definitely inherited his collecting gene. I just redirected the focus to sports cards. So I think it is genetic though. I think you're born with a collector gene.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. No, I can say that, my dad was kind of the same way. My dad wasn't really into cards, but he knew that I loved sports, and it was kind of his way to kind of connect me to something for us to do. And so my dad is definitely one of my biggest influences as well. So, and then hopefully my kid will say the same thing, and your kids will say the same thing about you. So
Yeah, my son definitely has the gene.
yeah,
It's directed at Pokemon like yours,
like mine. Yep.
but he still I do think it is something that you're born with, the desire to accumulate stuff. And I don't mean that in a materialistic type way, right? I mean, these cards have no utility whatsoever. My dad, his tools do. He goes, the best thing I do with these tools, or the best thing I make with these tools is friends.
Wow.
And I think that's great wisdom. And the best thing I do with these cards is make friends. Like,
fantastic.
It's all about the relationships that come out of that. And I'm sorry, I'll get off on a tangent there. So
that is a fantastic tagline. We may have just titled this video right now. That is fantastic right now. I might take that from you. I know you're not on Twitter, so I might have to borrow that from you.
Take it. It's none of it's copyrighted. You're good.
Well, let's talk about the cards, man. Is there a grail card out there for you that you're chasing right now, or is there one in your collection that when you got it, you knew that it would never leave?
So my favorite card of all time is the 53 Bowman color Pee Wee Reese.
Okay.
I actually have one right here because I'm getting it graded. I have two of them now. I say it's right there. Where'd you go? I know I have it close. Well, a 53 Bowman Pee Wee Reese. If you've never seen the card, it's to me the prettiest card ever created.
I'll find it. I'll find it.
Yeah, go check it out. I know where it is. It's in another box. I'm already prepping for the national, so it's already packed away to go to the national.
Gotcha.
53 Bowman colors, my favorite card, but my grail card is doing this 4-decade set of all the Hall of Famers from Topps and Bowman. The last card I plan on getting is the 52 Topps mantle. So
okay,
that's kind of my grail card. That'll be the cherry on top of this massive project and endeavor that I don't care how long it takes me. The thing if I was to tell you one thing I've learned about this hobby over 40 years is it's a marathon, not a sprint.
For sure.
Like, it takes a long time. People are like, oh my gosh, how did you get that collection? 40 years of doing it. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. None of us have unlimited budgets and unlimited time and all that. So you get a little bit and you get a little bit more and you get some more. So it's a marathon. And so I don't care how long it takes me. I don't know when I'll get that mantle someday. But someday.
I love it. Well, I can't wait. I can't wait for the day.
Me neither.
All right. Well, let's talk about the product. If money's not an option, you can rip any box you want to. What box are you ripping and why?
Oh, I'm ripping a 52 Topps high series box.
Okay.
Are you kidding me? That would be to be able to find a mantle, or I guess that's not really the high series, but it's close to it. That series.
Yeah.
Also got Eddie Matthews rookie, which is the most expensive Topps rookie card ever created. Everybody thinks it's the mantle. It's not.
No, all right.
Because the mantle Topps isn't his rookie. It's 51 Bowman.
Oh, okay. All right.
52 Topps is his first Topps card, no question.
Yeah, got it.
But not his rookie. Everybody calls it his rookie. It's not. It's just not. It's a 51 Bowman. And so that'd be like saying Trout's rookies, 2012, Panini Prism. Like, no, it's not. It's 2011 Topps update. So, that would be just fun. Eddie Matthews rookie potential, or Jackie Robinson, or there's just so many great cards in the 52 Topps set, of which I don't have very many of them because of the price point. I've just always been resistant to just pay that much. So it's funny. I spend a lot of money on cards, but I'm still very cheap and frugal. That's a weird dichotomy there, but it's true.
Oh, I love it. Well, you kind of mentioned the 52. I know that you got a big appreciation for vintage cards. So last question here, kind of as this kind of new hobby is kind of coming about in 2022, what kind of trends are you seeing in the vintage cards that kind of gets you excited about, collectors coming in with the vintage, or what's happening with the vintage? Kind of what things get you excited about it?
I think vintage popularity is certainly going up. I think a lot of people are moving through that collector life cycle quicker and realizing, there's a bajillion Zion rookies and a bajillion Gavin Luxes and all these different people that are coming up. And it's not that Soto, Acuna, Otani, they're all great players. I love where baseball is right now with the talent that's there.
Definitely.
But at the same time, there's plenty of their cards, and so I think people are going, I want something a little more unique, a little more rare, a little more special.
Yeah.
And so people are gravitating more towards vintage. Plus, they don't tend to spike like modern cards can. Their stories are already told as vintage players. They've been done for decades. And so, Mickey Mantle can't tear his ACL again. He tore it several times when he was playing, but you look at Tatis, hasn't played at all this year, or
it's very true.
So the volatility is significantly lower in vintage. And what we saw in 2020, it's the slow, steady climb on vintage. You had a spike it spiked later than ultra modern. It spiked in March 2021.
Yeah.
And then it came back down, but at a higher level than it was pre-pandemic. And so you have it go along, it spikes, and then it creates a new floor. 20-30% higher, and that's kind of how it works. It just kind of and then just keeps steady moving along. And for a long-term collector, if you're a short flipper, like, you don't care, but if you're a long-term collector, that's a palatable outcome
for sure. No.
And vintage, because it's not manufactured rarity, it is just genuine scarcity. Not you can't find cards, it's just they're not as plentiful. Certainly in different grades and all that, but it's not going to ever just crumble. Even in the current economic conditions that we're in, I don't see vintage just nosediving, which is both good and bad. I'm an accumulator, right? So I'm not ready to sell. So I guess I'll just have to be stuck paying a little bit higher prices than I did a few years ago. And that's the old man in me that get off my lawn. I'm like, I remember when that card only cost a nickel, or whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I can't believe I have to pay. I could have bought that 2 years ago for half the price or a third of the price or whatever. And it's like, it is what it is.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I want to ask you one final question. I love the Chasing Cardboard series on YouTube. I think it's fantastic. Actually, my boys and I watch it when it comes out. It's like our little thing. So when I see the new video pop up, I know you got to kind of lead the episode, the episode 5, I think it was. Kind of just real quick, kind of what's been some of the exciting things that have come about as being a part of this project, Chasing Cardboard?
Well, it's, Ty and Matt, really Matt's brainchild, Matt Coleman, who's been on a few of the videos. You see him, he does all the camera work, all the editing, all the music, everything. He does that. He's a savant for that. And he loves cards too. So when he joined Bench Clear, a year and a half ago, he had this idea for this show. Like, I want to make it, network quality. Like, I want to make it where you could see it on the History Channel, whatever, and not be surprised. And so that was the idea. And they wanted me to be, Ty and I are great friends. Matt and I are great friends. So let's do this together. Ty can be kind of the main guy, and I'll be the vintage expert. They bring in vintage experts to Pawn Stars, or they call the buddy who knows everything about this. Well, I was just going to be that guy. And then it became we got all these opportunities to go look at collections. I'll need to go do some of these myself, and which was fine. It's been a great experience. We have one we're doing actually next week where Ty's coming down, and it's here local in Texas. And so, in Oklahoma, but 6 million cards we're going to pick up. He's already bought them. And so a little sneak peek of future episodes of Chasing Cardboard.
Okay.
He and I going up there together to go and see what's in this 6 million card collection. And the fun is, you don't know, right?
Yeah,
open every box and you're like, it could be junk wax and it could be great vintage stuff. And we just don't know yet what's going to be there. It's like an entire house. Like, seriously, it's pretty crazy.
Wow.
So to do it with Ty and Matt, who I have great respect for and really enjoy talking to. It's been fun. It's great to do that level of quality of stuff. You know, you just don't see that out there very much. It's like, whoa, and I get to be a part of this. I just feel privileged and honored that I get to do that. So
yeah, well, I love it, man. Keep it up. Tell Matt he's doing a great job. Tell Ty he's doing a great job. And it was really fun to see you on the last episode. So Chasing Cardboard, make sure you check that out. But hey, man, that's all I got on the high five. So we got a high five, throw it up, high five at the end. Boom. As he said, Baseball Collector on YouTube. Make sure you sub to him. Check out his stuff. Also, Bench Clear Media. He does his weekly podcast with Ty and also Chasing Cardboard. Make sure you check that out. If you're bored, you can follow me at Mr. K-Dub on Twitter. Always remember, be the good in the world. And we'll catch you guys next time on the next high five.